festival like this is a beautiful indication of the kind of thing that I truly, truly believe in, and I think makes our society more whole and more pure.
We do not take it for granted that Boulder was chosen as the first North American satellite festival. It's a huge honor we will not forget, and we are enriched because of it. We are indebted to both the local and international people that came together to make that happen, and we hope it's a tradition that continues for decades to come.
Literary festivals like this one build up an environment and an ecosystem to nurture readers and to promote the business of books. They provide an invaluable forum for writers to connect with other creative people.
We sit there peering into those electronic grids in front of our eyes, and it only increases the desire to see the real thing in the flesh, to actually hear an author speak firsthand, to read from their work, to hear the tones of their voice modulate as they read their most treasured passages of prose.
For us, it's special. This was our mothership, and it continues to be. The other editions that we have across the United States are smaller versions, different programming, but smaller versions.
Hello, everyone, and a very, very warm and somewhat emotional welcome to this last day of JLF Colorado 2020. It's been an extraordinary couple of weeks. Thank you. On behalf of JLF Colorado, Festival co-directors Namita Gokali and William Dalrymple, Teamwork Arts, the Boulder Public Library, and the City of Boulder, we welcome you to this session. The Call of the Sirens, Down in the Water, with Sarah Elizabeth Schantz and Toni Oswald. Sarah Elizabeth Schantz' upcoming publication, Down in the Water, unfolds a story of mermaid-type creatures that appear in a watering hole in a small town and of local girls going missing in the spring. Toni Oswald's Sirens tells of another sort of creature, part animal, part woman, that falls from the sky. Both write of the urgent call of the feminine. We're going to begin with a wonderful reading by both Sarah and Toni, separately and together. Sarah Elizabeth Schantz lives on the outskirts of Boulder, Colorado, with her family in an old farmhouse where they're surrounded by open sky, coyotes, and century-old cottonwoods. Her first novel, Fig, debuted in 2015 and was selected by NPR as a Best Read of the Year before winning the 2016 Colorado Book Award. She's currently working on her second novel, Roadside Altars, and recently won first place for a short fiction contest hosted by the Adirondack Review. She teaches the craft of creative writing at Front Range Community College, where she was chosen for Master Teacher of the Year. Apart from Front Range Community College, Sarah teaches for Lighthouse Writers Workshop and her own series, Writes, with a W, of Passage, where creative writing workshops are organized by the season and by theme. She also works with individual writers one-on-one according to what each writer might need. And Toni Oswald is a writer living in Boulder, Colorado. She's been published in the Oyez Review, Bombay Gin, and the Tattered Press. She's currently working on a novel about a girl clown set in the 1950s. Her first collection of poetry, Sirens, I believe just came out yesterday. And we're very excited about that. And we're very excited to turn it over to Toni and Sarah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Down in the Water. They come in June and always they leave with the few of us they have to take.
They come to take us once the full moon hangs in Sagittarius, when heaven shoots the most stars of the earth below, and the tide swells and rises, and all the fish jump just to feel the silver light of this one midnight that only ever happens once a year. And if they were bloated, if they had bits of fishing net embedded in their flesh, or the sore's water rot blooms on skin, we'd assume they were the teenage girls who are always drowning every summer.
Always drowning.
The girls who are swallowed by the ponds and the lakes and the streams and the creeks and the river and the puddles and the irrigation canals and the quarry and the bay.
Always drowning.
The girls we have to bury on the edges of the cemetery, or else the town will flood again and carry away all our livestock.
Down in the water.
Their silhouettes crest the hills of our town, where the land attempts to run away from the water, from the coast. They step forth from the shadows of other things. From the vine-laden gateways, they unfurl from the grape leaves. Barefoot upon the time-riddled stone, they come. They come, and suddenly they are here, and suddenly some of us have been chosen, and suddenly the rest of us are left where we were when first they came. Left standing in our kitchens, watching tap water pour over a pile of dirty dishes. Left sitting in our clawfoot tubs, watching the last of the bathwater slip down the drain. Left in our yards, where our garden hoses gurgle in the grass, where the sprinklers still turn, and the sun tosses color through the airborne water. Left standing on the beach, staring at the froth in the sand, the last wave just left behind, like the sea spit on the shore.
We are all writing this.
They come, and they are always thin and naked, and they all look the same. Naked, but if we see them in just the right light, we'll catch the bits of fins and scales that glitter forth from their otherwise human skin. A silver patch here and there around the wrist, like the bracelet. They are more fish in the places where a body bends or where a body opens. And when we see the bits of scale, we think of the sequin gowns we've either worn ourselves or else our friends and sisters and aunties and mothers have worn. And when we see the fins that trail forth from their gray flesh, we consider the silk and lace veils some of us wore for our weddings. We think of the scarves some of us still wear wound around the bareness of our arms to hide the writing we compose upon our skin with sharp blades, because there is no one to tell our secrets to. And we never see them until it's too late. By the time they come, they are upon us, and the air is a meandering miasma of fish and salt and sex, and they come after the spring rains have filled all the bodies of water to brimming.
Down in the water.
They come when the tulips and daffodils have died, when these flowers have retreated back into the underworlds of their bulbs. They come when the vegetables and fruit are just taking form. They come, and they are neither slow nor swift, and they come because they must.
We are all writing this.
They come, and they have long hair that is always wet and tangled, and while they have no eyes or noses, they do have mouths, and when they snarl at us, we can see their teeth. Jagged and sharp, the color of jade, they have tongues like small black eels.
Down in the water.
They come, and because their mouths are almost always open, they look like they are singing, only they are swallowing all the sound, because when they come, it sounds like when we go underwater once a year come December, when it's our turn to pull on our white robes, and then step down the steel rungs of the ladder and into the glass tank at the church while our congregation carefully sings.
Down in the water.
To keep us from actually drowning.
Down in the water.
They come, and when they do, they take away the sound of our world, yet our fathers still call them sirens, like the screaming ambulances that can never save us. And our mothers call them whores the way they called us whores too, the first night we didn't come home, because we had bedded the sailors they told us to bed. And when they come from the water in June, their song is so heavy, no one can move, which is why no one ever tries to run. And when they come, there are always a few of us they have to take back to the water. And every year in June, they pass me by in favor of my sisters, my cousins, my friends. And every year I've seen them come. They've passed the lure I make when I dangle from a straight hook the bait of a wanting body that is me.
Down in the water.
Sirens.
We are all writing this. We are lost. We are trying to find our way back. Let there be light. Let it enter our darkness and drown in the mystery of the world.
We are all writing this.
Sometimes things will sound backward, like walking through a building into a lake.
Down in the water.
You recognize her as someone other than who she
am.
Her is a watcher. Her is a good nothing. Her is a good nowhere. The world asked her to be a lie, to be an artful manipulator, to make herself special. This is not truth, but the world is hung up on lies, forgetting who is who.
Who.
Others coming through her. Where does she end and we begin?
Down in the water.
She plays the part, the great actress. It gives her a certain power over we, the world. Her needs the power, for she has lost her wings, buried under the lies, buried, but is she really gone?
We are all writing this.
Her body does resemble a universe. Look closer, an atmosphere unto itself. Air, fire, water, earth.
Air, fire, water, earth.
Ancient hieroglyphs descend from head to foot. A map of what has been will be. Scars as watermarks, remnants of various emotions reaching through space-time tombs.
Space-time tomb.
Fear turns into a strange beauty when the eye focuses and the mind forgets. Breath, heart pumping, a spleen is overworked, anemia sets into the abandoned womb, the kidneys cry and piss all over everything. Her skin yellows, the whites of her eyes rolling rancid. She is a monster.
It took 13 days for the woman to die. She was gang raped and beaten by a busload of men, including the bus driver. They even beat her male friend traveling with her.
Her broke stairs that descended into bones that look like teeth.
On the day they found her, she lay crying on a stone floor where she was attempting to cool her back. She was covered in blisters from shoulder blades to buttocks. A few days before, her owners poured hot oil on her for working too slowly. She was 11 years old.
There is a falcon soaring there above the skin sky where lightning lurks, an electrical canyon painted red, beautiful murals of death where seeds fall through the cracks. Her is breaking down, crying like a baby, a fire, a blaze of bats out from a bridge.
Grieving mothers gather in the streets and cry out, "Why do you kill our children?"
Inch by inch of her carries the truth in her song, but her lips have been sewn shut with strings of radiation, and now the whole world is at stake.
She was 6 when they tied her to a bush. 3 women held her down while one sat on her chest and covered her mouth. A woman with empty eyes came forward with a sharp blade, grabbed her clitoris, and cut.
Move forward to the brain. Our circuits are looped to repeat doom. Shit out the poison. Fertilize the pink calcite her put all of her dying dreams into. Bury those crystals behind the lake of blue smoke and let mushrooms grow from their shit to feed the world.
We are all writing this.
Spray painted on an alley in red. We know who you bastards are, and we will reclaim the parts that make the whole.
We are all writing this.
Lightning cracked platinum heat. Rumble of thunder rolled across her back, deluged by rain.
Down in the water.
She went blind and cried for the already extinct, the dying, the nameless, all the stories never told. From her navel emerged lizard with 2 diamond eyes slouching towards the lie of the world. You will pay in more ways than you can possibly imagine, it hissed as the sky turned gray and swallowed the fire in her spine. Her howled wet with gleam. Tears fell and formed a ship she stepped into, taken up by the clouds. Upwards the rain in reverse.
Up, up, up.
Into the night, her.
We are all writing this.
When the poison breaks, there is transfigured light. We have found out that what was lost could not be lost.
Down in the water.
The ocean has swallowed hysteria. Fear was left somewhere biting and lightless, its knives and fists sewn into 7 wheels that spin beneath the red house I saw last night in your dream. A place where a woman told me, hold your gaze to that corner and your body will disappear, then take up the thread.
We are all writing this.
Embroidering a dress with stories, truth arrives in the eye of the needle as we prick the stitch. We watch her glide across the dress, remembering the feminine in the fist, how it got to this, earth lubricated by oil for thousands of years. Ha ha, they laughed and cheered, but now the pussy's dried up and won't be fucked. Wipe your tears and stop waiting for someone else to do your work. Stitch a snake for the conquerors, then let them know it's headed straight for their assholes, a place where all pleas went ignored.
We are all writing this.
Now we wander, human sorrow shaking, bending until breaking, trembling before the mountain of precious, all of our stuff. The animals and plants shake their heads. Stupid fuckers, I bet they're thinking just like Anne said. And now there's nowhere to go unless you believe billionaires who dream of Mars. Are you as tired of those fuckers as I am?
We are all writing this.
The black cycle turns, the black cycle circling all. Her draws the sword, spins the loom. Watch her hands unravel, fingertips spools of thread, stitch, stitch, stitch. Only the finest needlework will save us from this mess. Horsewomen rise from a hole in the dress as the hymn announces a she at your feet. Kiss, kiss. There are only her lips as the helmet of newt surrounds you. Along the sash we lay heads to oblivion and settle the stars that drop from their waist.
We are all writing this.
Ancest,
Her.
a ghost stands center circle. White moles guard 4 directions. A black moon and an earth moon take to corners.
Like the woman said.
Where we have no map, where no one knows this ghost.
We are all writing this.
This ancestor holds a black rose, symbolic ghost of blood, a resurrection of crimson cloth. Yoke to yoke.
Yoke to yoke.
Like a wheel, this circle has spoke of her. When it dries, cast cakes. White flour mixes with gauze, sand it. A rain of silver powder. Ghost there, sirens, memory dust, holds her whisper back. We cannot imagine the sound. Yoke to yoke.
Yoke to yoke.
Like a wheel, this circle has spoken. Stretched taut, it holds the path in place. 12 circles, 10 lead to another world. Epic journey of DNA swims our veins. When you leave this world, you will have no eyes.
We are all writing this. The end.
Wow. I can't thank you enough for offering such a powerful, exquisite, gorgeous last reading to our festival this year. That was, I think, something we all needed to hear.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, thank you, Jessie.
Absolutely. And I think for the rest of the time, this well warrants us hearing you both in conversation as we proceed. So, I've been thinking about both of your writing, and I was going to leave you, as you begin your conversation with 2 questions. So I'm wondering how these stories, these sirens and mermaid creatures, arose for each of you. Did you begin to write with these in mind, or did these figures arise as you wrote? And can you talk a little bit about the meaning and message you're hoping to convey? And now I will pass it over to you both again, Toni and Sarah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jessie.
Do you want to go first, or?
I mean, I can say that The Little Mermaid was a fairy tale that my mother used to read to me a lot as a child. And she was really angered by sort of what Disney did to just how sad the original version of the tale is, where she actually dies. And then the other thing, Peter Pan was another book that I grew up listening to, and the idea where the mermaids are actually not a creature that you necessarily want to go swimming with, but then investigating that deeper and realizing sort of the link to Medusa, all of these female figures from mythology who are actually seeking revenge, often on rapists or the male figures, the sky gods that have done them wrong. And so I think what prompted Down in the Water particularly was just this sort of haunting, foggy image of these women walking from the water into town. And I just ended up writing it, but I think I had that background information.
For me, the siren aspect came about a little later when I first began to write some of the pieces in the book. They were kind of like separate, almost like poems, as where the final book is more of a narrative story. And the initial image that I kind of had was of this woman with her hands on the glass, which is how the book begins. And it's kind of this idea that the woman is looking out there and someone is asking the question, or someone is saying, I know who you are, I see you, like it's like a way of being seen. But then the book says, but no one's there. And then what happened was I started getting this image of this half animal, half woman figure. In the book, it's a bird. She's really a bird. It's a woman who's born part bird. And I was getting this image of her like falling from the sky. And so then the journey just became about telling this story of this bird girl who ends up getting her wings cut off, and which is a metaphor. It's kind of like a surrealist parable about the loss of the divine feminine, I would say. And then how this creature kind of reclaims her lostness, her wings, her freedom, her ability to be seen. And kind of like what Sarah was talking about, like classic goddess figures who kind of go into the underworld, become monsters, and then rise, is kind of, I think, what basically I'm getting at.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that reminds me too of just those mythological figures of Valkyries or Harpies. So they're also women that are part bird, right? And I think part of that too is like seeing the feminine divine, the goddess, in all of the elements. So we have air with wings, we have water with the more mermaid type figures. We're all kind of familiar with the idea of the earth goddess, which I think comes up quite a bit in sort of the raping that happens in Toni's piece, especially what we just read, as far as fracking.
Yeah, like the basic, I mean, I think what's actually going on in both of our pieces in many ways is this idea, the feminine as a metaphor for the earth herself. So in this time of dramatic and horrifying climate change and ecocide, thinking about the fact that we've kind of lost our way to our connection to the feminine. And that, when I say that, I don't just mean obviously women, the feminine entity as the womb of the world, the earth as the womb of the world that nurtures us all. And yet we've gotten so far away from that divine feminine. We see that in the way that we treat women in the world, the way that we treat children, and ultimately the way that we treat our planet, and as a feminine entity, so to speak.
Even just the loss of community amidst women too. And I think that's something that I'm exploring is sort of the expectations of what girls and women are supposed to grow up to be, the pain that beauty requires. And here is this figure in my story who all she wants to do is to be chosen by the monster. I think the figure of the literary female monster is something that's haunted me for a long time, thinking about like Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, for example, and how that monster was a metaphor for what it was like to be a woman in the 19th century. You know, she's literally made from the body parts of men, the way that Eve was made from Adam's rib, abhorred by society, that type of thing.
Exactly. I think also me and Sarah were talking the other day about the idea that the monster comes about, the woman as monster, the mad woman, so to speak, is the idea that because we're not allowing the full entity of the feminine, which has so many faces. You know, you've got Aphrodite or Lakshmi, but then you also have Kali, the destructive, who, you know, stomps it down so that it can be rebuilt. That aspect of the feminine, the shadow self, the dark self, how we have just ignored that. And so that is what actually makes the monster come out, which is kind of what we're seeing. We're seeing the earth has been denied. And so we're getting, the earth is basically taking revenge on us as humans on some level, because we're not paying attention, except for a very small amount of maybe indigenous population on the planet.
Yeah, I like to think, like, when we were braiding our work together tonight, we were talking about how it becomes that collective wailing, the grief. That's what the like idea of sirens, right? It's a wailing sound. And so that was what we were hoping to conjure tonight, is just our wailing grief for the loss and the destruction of the earth.
Absolutely. I think that also we were talking the other day too about the Queen of Cups and the Tarot, and how that maybe had influenced our work and what that meant to us and how that might reflect in our work, because it's a card that both of us feel very closely to, which I think gave us a little bit of an idea of how to like weave our work together and make it kind of one siren banshee song, the song of sorrow. That is like one of the histories of the sirens as well, that they were these bird creatures that ended up in the water. And it was really like a painful grief that they were feeling. And so that was part of the luring of the male to destruction, because it was the only way that they could actually go towards death, like in their sorrow.
Yeah, and I think that the Queen of Cups, one of the strongest messages you get is you need to trust your, you know, water is the suit of emotion, and that you have to be able to trust your gut and your intuition, which I think is something that just doesn't necessarily come natural anymore. We're told to hide those things.
Yeah, we're absolutely, I think, and even in my book, I think I was trying to connect to that, like my more intuitive self, as opposed to what the world has told me to be as a woman, and what that means, and how to like reclaim. I think in writing the book, I was trying to actually reclaim my own autonomy as a woman and as a feminine entity, and as someone who could find that voice through her intuition again.
Yeah, and I think that's what's really exciting about both of us being published by Gesture Press. And so just like big thank you to Heather Goodrich, and for the feminist manifesto or woman festo that is that particular press that we're both being published by.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Heather. I need to say it too, for publishing my book and Sarah's chapbook. It feels so actually special to be on a press where the whole idea is trying to actually reclaim that voice of the feminine, because I think it's something that we all really need to pay attention to on a really profound level, because things have gotten so tilted towards the masculine, you know, the will, the ambition, the conquering, all of those things, which we need. We need a certain level of the masculine to have the will of the world, but we need to pay attention to that will moving into the womb, which is what births everything, the act of creation. I think that's also, for me, a big part of, in certain connections to sirens and mermaids, there's something connected in that to actually being part of the womb, and the act of creation is a very feminine act, which the masculine obviously is what pushes that into being, but you need the womb to actually birth it. So we need both.
Yeah, I guess I think that we're at time. So thank you, everybody, so very, very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone at Jaipur. Thank you, Jesse, for having us. This was really amazing experience, and to have as a first reading with Sarah for my book coming out yesterday. Thank you so much.
Well, it's my absolute pleasure, and I just couldn't be more tickled myself to have ended our festival, the beginning of our ending, with both of you and with this cry of the feminine. I think we're all so aware of not loss and of the wail in the world. Those of us who haven't been aware of that wail, which has been true for billions around the world for centuries. And now, you know, oh, us too, you know? And that wail is so piercing, and you've spoken to what's lost so beautifully. So thank you both. Thank you both so much. Sarah Elizabeth Schantz and Toni Oswald. Thank you all for watching and for being such a great audience. We encourage you to buy the books of our speakers that are available through Boulder Bookstore in the USA, who ship all over the US, and at Full Circle within India. Please do follow our handles on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and stay apprised of upcoming sessions. So our last two sessions are this evening, though JLF America will continue in New York, Houston, and Toronto. And thank you again. And in these unusually difficult times, we continue to struggle to bring you JLF Colorado without charging a registration fee. If you can donate, we appreciate you being as generous as you can and help us to ensure a free, seamless, and continuous flow of knowledge. Once again, we would like to thank all our official partners. We hope you enjoyed this conversation and will tune in for our next session, Indigenous Trauma in the Face of Colonialism, Tanya Talaga in conversation with Daniel Locke. That is going to be excellent. Tanya Talaga is Indigenous journalist, award-winning in Canada, First Nations. And Daniel Locke is another Canadian journalist, so please stay tuned. Thank you once again, and now we present a reading by Beena Ajay from Jaipur Writers Short Series.
Hello everyone, my name is Beena, and I'm going to read something that I wrote recently. It's titled, If I Could Run Away. If I could run away, I would seek out the highest mountain, the deepest forest, or the loneliest beach. I would wander across its stretches without a care, and nature's magical treasures within my reach. If I could run away, I would take my books, my music, and my dreams along. Let the wind guide me through as I sing my favorite song, knowing I could sometimes be lost, but not completely wrong. If I could run away, I would jump from one adventure to the next, meeting both new friends and foes, but never staying long enough to love and hurt, just making a few memories and leaving under some pretext. Each day would be one well lived. Each night, I would have reason to wake up to another day. If only I could run away. Thank you.
I would call the Jaipur Literature Festival a living library, or perhaps even a library of life. Do join us as we share the excitement of ideas and of debate and dialogue, of the adventures of science, of the joys of poetry and music, the consolations of philosophy, the essence of literature and of life.
So much about the festival in India, the scale of it, the energy of it. And I just love the fact that there is this effort to bring it to other cities in the world.
It's a variety of topics. It's meaningful. I'm just excited. I'm feeling like I've learned a lot to think about, and I appreciate JLF coming here.
Going forward, it would be a very good thing to do for the community to have this event on an annual basis.
I think that when you hear so many different voices and perspectives about the South Asian diaspora and many other issues, you learn that there's a lot of history that you're not taught every day, and I think that that's important to bring in today's world.
I was actually really surprised by the camaraderie I experienced here and the way that people at JLF, both attendees and other panelists, seem to really connect profoundly to literature and care about it.
In 2020, our live version of JLF has been laid to waste because of COVID-19. However, nothing's going to stop us from coming in the way of bringing our writers and speakers to you in Boulder, Colorado, Houston, New York, and Toronto, Canada.
Teamwork Arts, bringing India to the world and the world to India through Indian art and culture for over 30 years. One of Teamwork Arts' signature events, the Z Jaipur Literature Festival, is the world's largest free festival of its kind. With daily interactive sessions, lively debate and dialogue, and international music performances every night, it's no wonder the festival attracts over 500,000 visitors a year. The Jaipur Bookmark, an international B2B event for the publishing industry, happens during the Z Jaipur Literature Festival and sees a confluence of publishers, writers, and literary agents. Teamwork Arts, producers of the Z Jaipur Literature Festival, have taken the flavor of the festival to international shores with vibrant events in the UK, Australia, and the US. Teamwork Arts takes India's artistic diversity to the world with almost 12 festivals of India across continents in a stunning array in over 40 cities. A feast for the senses, these are spectacles of dance, music, cinema, theatre, literature, and so much more. In each of these places, Teamwork Arts' colourful festivals of India are the high points of the annual cultural calendars, be it Confluence in Australia, India by the Bay in Hong Kong, India by the Nile in Egypt, Ion India in Chicago, Shared History in South Africa, India in the Sunshine City in Zimbabwe, Edinburgh Fringe Festival, UTSAVAM in Singapore, Sarang in South Korea, festivals in Abu Dhabi, Shanghai, Sweden. The list is dizzying. The Jazz India Circuit is an endeavor by Teamwork Arts to spread the word and sound of jazz across the country. The 2017-18 season, 4 festivals across 3 cities featuring over 25 stellar artists from India and around the world, including Jojo Mayer and Nerve, drummer-singer Jameson Ross, and Dave Weckl, who collaborated with the talented Mohini Day. The Mahindra Kabira Festival celebrates the spirit, lyric and verse of the 15th century mystic poet Kabir in his birthplace, the historic city of Varanasi. Kabir's poetry is about inclusiveness. Mahindra Kabira brings to music lovers an unforgettable experience of listening to leading exponents of the classical Banaras Gharana and rich folk traditions of music on the legendary banks of the mighty river Ganges, along with sessions on art and literature, specially curated walks with famous local residents and delectable local cuisine. The Sacred celebrates the spiritual through music and its ability to heal. International artists collaborate with world music exponents from India amongst the most incredible desert settings on the banks of the Pushkar Lake. Heritage walks, meditation, talks and workshops are part of this weekend experience. Teamwork Arts so promotes and recognizes the best of Indian theatre through the Mahindra Excellence in Theatre Awards. The Meta Week in Delhi is an enthralling showcase of the 10 best nominated plays shortlisted from numerous entries received from across the country and across languages. The Meta Lifetime Achievement Award has been presented to leading lights of India's theatre industry. For the young and the young at heart, the Ishara International Puppet Theatre Festival brings local and international performances to audiences across several Indian cities. While the Multi-City Kahani Festival features interactive storytelling sessions and workshops championing the power of imagination. Bollywood Love Story, a musical. Our international touring productions such as Bollywood Extravaganza and Flamenco India have sold out shows across Europe, Egypt, Russia and Spain. Expressions International Contemporary Dance Festival showcases Indian and international productions, bringing together several dance genres for Indian audiences. Teamwork Arts, celebrating the arts. For more information, visit www.teamworkarts.com.
I think everywhere I've ever lived, I always looked for the library. They come to the library because they want to be with people.
Corporations are not people in the library. People are people, right? And so being able to come in and participate and learn and control that learning experience is what we offer to the community. And that's a beautiful thing. It can develop into something amazing.
We want them to recognize that they have the agency and the potential to create change and have a voice.
To become what they hope to be, to empower them to realize their aspirations.
No matter who they are, no matter what age they are, no matter what their background or ability is.
We're going to learn together, right?
And you know what? Not just me, because I want to create together, but I think we want to create together.
Give us your knowledge, give us what you do best, give us your culture, give us good feedback, give us bad feedback, give us any feedback. Let us grow with you. Just come and ask too.
Ask a librarian. We're all here waiting to help you.
To work together, to collaborate, and to come up with a larger, louder voice as a collective.
We are bolder together.
We are bolder.
Somos bolder juntos.
We are bolder.
Bolder?
Bolder together.
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 We're bolder together. We're bolder together.